Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be talking about Joyland by Stephen King. Now this book was kind of advertised as a little bit different than his other books. It's a hard case, or published by Hard Case Crimes, and it's supposed to be more of a like a crime thriller rather than his usual kind of horror, supernaturally kind of stories. Now, I bought this book a long time ago, I'm pretty sure when it first came out, and I'm not gonna lie, I had high expectations for this book. Stephen King is a little bit hit or miss with me. I like a lot of his short stories, but some of his longer stories I tend to give up on, and to be honest, I get bored with them. So I was hoping with a crime thriller, it would be, you know, more fast-paced, a little bit more action. However, I have to say I was bitterly disappointed. I don't know if it's just because I went in with such high hopes, or because it just wasn't great as a thriller overall. I'm not sure. I did see other reviews on Goodreads that agreed with my point of view with this book, but there was also a lot of high praise for this book. So if you're a huge fan of his writing and you love all of his books you've ever read, then you may enjoy this. But sadly it just wasn't for me. So the story's kind of set up about this boy who gets a job, a summer job in a carnival, and the kind of premise of the book is he gets this job in this carnival, and it kind of talks about, you know, his day-to-day happenings in there, and it's about their haunted house in the carnival being actually haunted by a girl who was murdered. Several of his friends see the ghost of her, and they've heard all the stories about what happened, and they decide to investigate for themselves and see if they can find out why she was murdered. And that sounded really good to me. However, I would not describe this book as a crime thriller at all. I would describe it as a coming of age story. So the beginning half of this book, like literally the first quarter of this book, is pretty much the main character, who I can't even remember what his name is, Devon. Devon is pining after a girlfriend who has dumped him, and he goes away to Joyland, this carnival, and he's trying to mend his broken heart, kind of forget about it. But he mopes a lot in this book. It gets quite boring and frustrating. And then the second half of this book is him making friends, him having a good time at the carnival, and him then pining after an older woman and her son. He meets them at random on a beach, and he becomes obsessed with them and their lives, and it's actually quite creepy. He comes across as quite a creepy character in this book. I don't know if he's meant to or not, but certainly I found him very creepy. He wasn't a very likeable character, and yeah, it was just surprisingly dull. It just kind of drones on and on about like descriptions, and I know Stephen King is known for that in some of his books, but for quite a short book it just felt so long. I actually found this book as an audiobook on YouTube, so if you type in Joyland audiobook on YouTube, it will come up. I think there were several people reading it, but the person that I was listening to had a great narration voice, and it really suited the story. And I think if I hadn't have been listening to most of this book on audio form, I probably wouldn't have finished it, because it just drags way too much. There's nothing thrilling about this book. It very rarely mentions this supposed haunted house and this murder. I mean, I think you get a pretty hefty way into the book before it even mentions, you know, this girl who was supposedly murdered in the haunted house, which was really disappointing, because I love stories set around carnivals, camps, carnivals, anything of that kind of a thing I really love. I always loved that kind of story in point horror. I loved Funhouse point horror, which is kind of similar premise to this. I mean, I know that's like a YA teeny cheesy horror book, so this should have been better, and it wasn't. It was just really boring. Definitely more of a coming of age story. Most of the story is him as an older man reflecting back on his days working in the carnival and his experiences with the other people there and operating the rides and what his roles were in the carnival, which those are the parts that I found really interesting in this book. I really enjoyed reading about those kind of things because I like theme parks and carnivals. However, another disappointing thing was when I went onto Goodreads, there were reviews by people who have actually worked in carnivals in America, and they say that Stephen King didn't do his research very well because a lot of it was completely fabricated and was not realistic to actual carnival life at all, which was disappointing because those are the parts that I liked in the book, the descriptions of the ride and how it all works, and you know, different people's roles within the park, carnival life. So yeah, if anyone knows any good kind of like horrors set around carnivals, then leave them in the comments down below, because I really do like I said, the premise was perfect for me. I love crime thrillers, I love haunted houses, things to do with carnivals, and yet it just felt so flat. I don't know if I had too high expectations. But yeah, sadly a big miss for me, so this is probably going to be going in my giveaway pile. I'll give it away to someone. I'll probably put it up on Facebook for free. Anyone who's a Stephen King fan can hopefully enjoy it more than I did. But yeah, it was just, yeah, it was just missing something. It was just missing, there was no thrilling element at all. It was definitely more coming of age story. So if you like coming of age stories, I mean, the boy starts in, as a college student, gets a summer job in Joyland hoping to forget a girl who broke his heart, and is now facing something far more terrible, a legacy of a vicious murder, a fate of a dying child, and a dark truth about a life of what's to come that will change his world forever. So that seems like it would be quite a fast-paced read, but it's really not. I mean, like I said, Stephen King's writing is quite hit or miss with me. I do much prefer his short stories. So yeah, this was just a bit of a disappointment. So if you've read this book and you have different thoughts to me, then I'd be interested to hear. Leave them down below. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's just because I had high expectations, or because usually the crime thrillers I read, I tend to go for the more gruesome end, just because that's what keeps me entertained. I don't know. So yeah, I go for pretty hardcore crime thrillers, and this just really didn't hit the spot. Definitely more coming of age story. But yes, that's pretty much all I have to say. If you have any thoughts, leave them down below, and as always, thank you for watching. Until next time, bye guys.